Hi students, this is Mr. Dinsmore with another podcast here showing you the parts method of division. This is an old method that's been around, I guess, since the Egyptians. You can check my videos and there's a guy that does a really nice example of this method and gives more history. But I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of it so that you guys have an understanding of what's happening with and how it connects to the partial product, how we're decomposing or breaking numbers apart to create working numbers to help us better understand division. So let's get started. First of all, we have to look at the number 7 because we're looking at 7 parts for 4,802, or 4,802 is to be divided by 7, it's to be broken into 7 groups. So if I know this, I'm going to say one part is equal to 7. This is handy. If I literally counted by 7s, I could count all the way up as close as I could to 4,802, and then add those parts up, and I would actually have my answer. And that's kind of the way that you do it, as you build your way up. But once again, counting by 1 is not the most efficient way. Just like with the circle method, and the same with the partial products. I don't start from my 1s. I want to start from my thousands, or since I have a number in the thousands, and then work my way there. So I'm going to have to look at parts that are larger. So if I know one part is 7, I know 10 parts will be equal to 70. And I also know 100 parts will be equal to 700. And of course, 1,000 parts would be equal to 7,000, but our number is smaller than 7,000, so I'm not going to use the 1,000 parts. Understanding this concept of what a part is and how if I times by 10, I'm increasing those parts, that's going to make it much easier for figuring out how many parts I need to build up to 4,802. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to subtract from 4,802 and whittle down how much number I have by using these parts. You'll see how it works here. First of all, let's look at the number 48,000. So what I want to look at here is with 48 on that number and 48,000 and say, wait a second, 6 times 7 would get me to 42. So if I can times 6 into 700 parts, that's going to give me, or 6 times 700, which is 100 parts, that's going to be 600 parts. Sorry about that, which is equal to 42,000. So if I go 6 times 7, if I have 100 parts equals 700, well, 6 of those would be 600 parts equaling 42 or 42,000. Now, since I've created this 42,000 by basically taking 100 parts and adding it 6 times, or multiples of 100, which makes it multiples of 700, giving me 42,000. Now I just simply subtract that from 48,200. And so I'm just going to write this over here and subtract it. Now my answer is 602. Well, how many parts would I need to create 602? If I look at this, I can think about my math facts, or multiples of 7, that could get me to as close to 60 as I can. Well, I know 9 times 7 is 63, so that's too high, so I can go underneath that by going 8 times 7. And then, of course, in this, since I'm using the 10 parts, it would be 80 times 7, which would give me 560. So my 80 parts, if I'm timesing that by the multiples of 7, or if I go 8 times 10, I'm going to have 560. So let's take a look at this. Well, now what I do is I subtract my 560 from 602, and I get 42. Well, what about my parts for 42? Well, if I use 6 parts, I'm going to have 6 times 7, which would be 42. So now I'm moving to my ones, and I'm going to do 42. And if I subtract 42 here, my answer will be 0. Now the interesting thing about this is if I see that if I count by 6, 7 times, I'm going to get 42, and that's my ones part. If I count by 87 times, I'm going to get 560. And if I count by 607 times, I'm going to get 42,000. This is really nice because this shows me a clear example of how I'd break this number into pieces, and also how I would use up my 44,802. Now if you notice here, I don't have a remainder. If I had a remainder, whatever it would be, I would create it as a fraction. I would say, let's say I had a remainder of 1, it would be 1/7, or if I had a remainder of 3, it would be 3/7 because my part is a 7. So that's what I would do if I had a remainder. Well, how do I know my answer? Well, all I have to do is add up my parts. 600 plus 80 plus 6 equals 686. And that's my answer. All I have to simply do is add my parts. I don't have to worry about following steps like in long division. It gives me a clear visual of the parts that I'm breaking it into and dividing. And I don't even need my circles. This is a very efficient method, and you can see why it was very popular for a very long time, or has been popular for a very long time. I hope this helps you out. Enjoy.